Teachers of Reddit, what's your most memorable "oh boy, that student definitely isn't going places" moment? Whilst teaching a class of 11-year-olds, I noticed one numpty drawing a massive dong and balls on the desk in pen. When I asked him what he was doing, he said "shut the frick up," then muttered the word "C" under his breath. Before I could launch into him, he walked down to the back of the class, opened the window and jumped out. It's a single-story building all the same, but was definitely his mic drop moment. We had a kid in our grade 7 class who one day just put down his pen, stepped out of a window onto the veranda roof, shinned down a drain pipe and took off. Our teacher was an old school authoritarian and she went mental. It was fantastic. One chick in my class, in France, when I was in 10th grade, said she did not get all the fuss about Obama being president. It's not like if it was the first black US president. There was Martin Luther King before him. Being in France, I can forgive that. I'll admit, I don't know many French presidents before Nicolas Sarkozy. Not a teacher, but a student in a 5-day firearm safety class. We were talking about what we could and could not shoot, and a kid asks, "Can we shoot woolly mammoths?" The instructor answered perfectly with, "If you can find one." Not a teacher but a student. In 8th grade history, me and my 2 friends answered every question we could because every other student did not care. One day this girl gets fed up and complained to the teacher that we were answering too many questions. The teacher decided to be fair and let her answer questions first, then have us answer us. She got it wrong. The first question she was asked was, what was the mother country of America? Without missing a beat, she instantly says the Statue of Liberty. I've had a girl in my earth science class do this. She never did anything and then randomly in the middle of class, she got all pissy and complained that she never got picked. So our teacher calls on her. She immediately said she didn't know what the answer was. This happened to me just yesterday. My hair is usually strawberry blonde in the summer, but I dyed it darker red in the fall. When my kindergarten students came to class yesterday, they were all a bit unsure of the new color. Here's a real conversation. The broken English is because they're Korean children. Kid, teacher, head is why red? Me, why is my hair red? I'm like a tree. I change colors in the fall. Kid, so, winter and no hair? I about died laughing. That's some logic for you. Get a crew cut to frick with him. At a kindergarten graduation, each student was asked what they want to be when they grow up. Fireman, policeman, dancer, until Emily got up and said, "When I grow up I want to be a starfish." 2. Both from my wife back when we were both teachers, both in her AP biology class. That time where a student overdosed on pills in class. She had bought them from a friend in class. A third friend tried to hide the drugs by dropping them out the window. The entire school is a 1-story building. That time where a student would poop in plastic bags and leave them on teachers' desks. Correction, this happened numerous times. Also because he had the right last name and went to the right church, he never got in trouble. Had the following exchange with a student a few years ago. Her, they know what the cure for AIDS is. Me, sure, go on. Her, it's bleach. Bleach cures AIDS. They just can't figure out how to get it in the body safely and effectively. I dismissed class almost immediately. Bleach kills HIV. Lots of things kill viruses, but would also kill the host. They are not cures. Truvada will control the virus but is also not a cure. For hepatitis C we now have actual cures. Medication that eradicates the virus but not the host. I remember saying something like this when I was in middle school. We had a bottle of bleach that specifically said it could kill the AIDS virus, and I said if only we could inject it into people without killing them. Had an older college student, 28 or so years old, turn in 4 papers in a row that were directly copy-pasted from well-known academic articles. First one, he said he uploaded the wrong paper. Gave him 24 hours to turn in the right one. No new paper was submitted. Second one, he thinks he's cracked the code. This time he only turned in a hard copy and forgot to upload the assignment so it didn't go through the plagiarism scanner. I told him he could go ahead and submit it now. No problem. Third one, he copy-pasted yet another article, format and all, and only replaced the author's name. During the plagiarism hearing, he tripled down and claimed he was the actual author of the paper but had just changed his last name. He pointed to the fact that he and the author had the same first names as evidence of his authorship. The fourth one I saved as a memento since he'd just been removed from the program. I had a student that fell asleep while I was sitting next to him and instructed him in something on screen. Last time I saw him he was stacking shelves part-time at a small convenience store. It could have been a one-time thing though. Same happened to me while my physics teacher was tutoring me. I was just really tired from last night's party and my eyes closed. Finished high school with mostly 5s and 4s. That would be A's and B's for Americans. There was one guy I went to school with who was into all kinds of trouble. Got thrown out of chemistry class for stealing a strip of magnesium stuff and lighting it on fire in the math wing, and burning a hole through the floor tiles in the process, plus selling drugs, shoplifting, all that kind of stuff. I happened to be outside a teacher's office one day when he was discussing that student with another teacher. Teacher 1. Man, some of my students are really going places, but problem student. I mean, man. Teacher 2. Oh, I dunno. Jail's a place. Not a teacher, but when I was in high school my classmate in our global history class constantly interrupted, was constantly out of his seat, touching girls after they asked him to stop, talked about fricking a lot. He got suspended at least once a week. When he wasn't there the class was much more peaceful. He once displayed his private area in front of the whole class. I recently googled him and found out he and someone else was arrested for mugging a Chinese food delivery man. He demanded the delivery man's wallet and snatched $130 while his partner attacked the guy. Everyone matures after high school. I figured this kid didn't mature and acted the same way, but when googling him, it's no surprise given how he acted in class. One said, I have never seen it written like that and IDK how I feel about it. I'm not a teacher but have many in my family. From my observation any kid named after any part of a weapon or its ammunition is hampered. You're not giving Taserface a chance, man. I was a fellow student, but I once told a girl in world geography that a typhoon is when a truck full of water falls over in the desert. She actually put it on her test. Last year in geography we were labeling maps, and two guys asked me where Italy was. I told them it was an island in the Pacific Ocean and they labeled a random island as Italy. I feel kind of bad about it now. I teach special needs kids, mostly learning disabilities and behavioral issues, so there are lots of those moments. This one happened today. Me. Tell me a political party in Germany? Student. New York. Me. Huh. That's a city in the USA. Student. That doesn't make sense. That's my best student by the way. I love my job and seriously wouldn't want to do anything else. Just to state that clearly. Let me start with the warning that I teach special ed. When we are having a class discussion, I get about 40% correct answers and 60% incorrect, but that I can kind of turn into correct answers. For example, what animals live in the salt marsh, and the kid will say eelgrass, which is a plant but on topic. I had this one kid that would just answer off the wall crap, like macaroni and cheese. It was pretty adorable actually. Not me, but my brother. This was in bumfuck nowhere, Colorado. One of the freshman high school kids is a suspected drug dealer. At lunch, he went around the building to the side where all the cars were, and he started speaking to a guy who was clearly not in high school. 23, 24 years old. The teacher on duty watched this, then watched the kid exchange something with the guy in the car. So teach snaps a photo on his phone. Well, the kid notices the teacher taking a photo and storms over all indignant. You have to delete that. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Oh. So what were you doing? I was ordering a pizza. About 15 minutes later, the guy who was selling the kid drugs comes back with a pizza. Not me, but a fellow student in college. Sit down for our statistics final exam. Multiple choice answers, but you're fricked if you don't know the formulas. Guy 1 row over and 2 seats down sits. Pulls out a single 6-sided dice and rolls it for every question. Freaking guy passed the exam. I did too. But wow, that guy had balls of steel. Not to mention luck. Guess if you figure you're gonna fail, might as well try something new, right? Whoa miss, I just realized that the numbers after 10 are just made up of the numbers between 1 and 9. Somehow he's one of my best math students. Even then, he's still wrong. Okay, so classmate here, and if my professor saw this he'd be posting so in his stead. This one kid in my dendrology class, we will call him C. Now C started off okay in this class. He was weird and didn't get social cues. Well, C seemed fine, maybe just a little autistic. But later he started bragging he failed this class last semester. Not just saying it but literally bragging that he failed. He thought it was a prize. Anyways, he continues to do so for the first few months or so. Throughout these months he also comes up during field quizzes and asks, hey, what's this tree or that was a completely obvious it's not tree, right? Then we have Latin quizzes for the scientific names of these trees and this sucker is sitting in front of the tray with his phone in his lap cheating on the quiz. Every single class. So mid-semester comes and he gets an email from our professor saying he needs to drop this class or he will fail it. Good guy professor trying to save his grade. But he instead brags about it and decides, no, I'll keep going, I've already failed once, it's fine. Well, he gets more emails and gets called out in class when he brags about getting 1 out of 15 trees right and when he gets caught cheating again. Anyways, end of semester comes and he doesn't show up to the triad final nor the written management final. I haven't seen him since, but I've seen his little car around town. It's hard to miss with the Resident Evil 4 logos all over it and the multiple bloody zombies on it. I don't think he is going anywhere in life. I feel sorry for him, but yet again he was given multiple chances to fix some problems but decided not to, so I'm not sure I really care. Sounds like this guy does not belong in college. When I see guys like that in college it makes me wonder if they're only there because they are being forced. My sister is a teacher for a local school. Like a great many teachers, she's also responsible for a form group. In this case, a rowdy and rambunctious group of 15-year-olds she'd inherited from a newly retired teacher. Some kids stand out more than others, and not always for the right reasons. The epitome of that rule existed in my sister's form group. She had the misfortune to be called Xena by her Tumblr feminist mother, and Xena herself had followed firmly in her mother's footsteps. She was considered unpopular, and certainly the other kids were unfair and cruel, but she didn't help matters herself. My sister has told many stories of Xena, up to and including the time she spontaneously began speaking in an accent, which sounded like the bastard child of a Pakistani accent, Irish, and a speech impediment. The accent vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared over the course of the lunch hour. The time she claimed powers of clairvoyance in chemistry. The kid torching pencils with a Bunsen burner apparently never particularly cared if their great aunt Doreen wanted to warn them of misfortune. The time she shaved her head and refused to wear her uniform because it was stifling her creativity. The John Cena meme was in full swing, and Xena had earned the nickname John Xena, owing to her buzz cut and unfortunate head shape. Kids would hum his theme tune upon seeing Xena in the school. A memo was sent around the faculty concerning the matter, but half of the staff were convinced that John Cena was a politician. My sister was running improvisation drills when Xena broke in with one of her prime stories. She was the daughter of a Mauritian man named Jonathan. She said her skin was the color of milk, smooth and pale, a man of great importance. She'd been born in Mauritius and swiftly smuggled over to the UK with her mother. Born and raised in England as a newborn. There was a beat of stunned, awkward silence, until a particular crap of a child screeched, John Cena, and slammed his mate's head into the desk. What the frick? Also not teacher, but figured I'd share. Chick in my English composition class genuinely believed and argued with the professor that Charles Manson is Marilyn Manson's father. Not sure if it counts, but in my senior year, JROTC cadet officer occasionally had to babysit the freshmen in my class if the instructor's their regular babysitter flight commander was busy. Got to teach a few times. One cadet bragged about deep throating a pickle with video and his class A uniform. So after he was talked to by the head instructor, he flat out said he didn't need JROTC. True, and he already had a contract to be a SEAL as a freshman. I was talking with the local Navy recruiter petty officer a bit later and told him, and he laughed his butt off. The cadet only lasted a semester, and to my understanding is he got busted with C, got out of Juve early, then a week later broke into 2 houses, stole a gun and some jewelry, tried, and failed, to carjack someone at gunpoint. Gun was locked back, and empty. Again, he's kind of a dumbass. and eventually did steal a car, crashed it and got tackled by a, to my understanding, rather obese mall cop. He's in jail again. Paul Blart to the rescue. Teaching at a university, you might be surprised how many students get pissy over basic math. Freshmen used to shock me with comments like I didn't sign up for a math course, I don't think I signed up for calculus, and I am just going to drop. Now it is almost commonplace. A couple each semester in 100 level courses. I am talking basic math, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. It is pathetic, and most students that make comments like that do terrible in class. It may be really harsh to say, but if you think basic math is something to cause you to drop a class, you should not be taking university classes. Not a teacher, but in 10th grade chemistry, there was a guy at my lab table. Let's call him Todd. Todd wasn't all that bright, seemed to lie about his life a lot, but he was a nice enough guy, so the rest of us would try to help him in class. But one day Todd violated an 8-year-old. Damn it, Todd. A girl in my class, we were all 15. First year of high school. Her last name is a very famous one, a historical noble family of our country. Parents super rich. First geography class we ever had. She was asked to point Brazil on the map. Started looking at Africa. The teacher literally said, "I'll give you a hint. It's in South America." The crappy brat goes, "I know that." Keeps persistently looking at Africa. It wasn't a blind map or anything. Mind you, a normal, regular map with all the names on it. She is now a professional Instagram vacationer sponsored by Dad Bucks. Sounds like she actually is going places though. I'm not a teacher. This was just a classmate. We were in a world history class and we had to pick a historical person to do a report on. Much of the class was flipping through the textbook trying to come up with somebody, and one girl suddenly asked out loud, "Who is Saddam Hussein?" I tried to spell it exactly how she said it. If you couldn't figure out who she was talking about, it was Saddam Hussein. I want to make a special note here that this was in high school and it happened right around when Saddam had been captured and or executed. It was all over the news and had been for quite some time. She still had no clue. Not a teacher, but when we were in 3rd grade, we had this day called Career Day when we would all come dressed up as whatever we wanted to be when we grew up. This one kid shows up in a black hoodie and I ask him what he wants to be and he says, "I want to be a thief when I grow up." He was completely serious too. Any one of 1,000 different kids who were 1,000% sure they were going to be a rapper but couldn't understand how a better vocabulary might help that along. I wish I was as sure of anything in my life ever as these kids were that they were going to be rappers. I'm not a teacher, but I love telling this story about a former classmate. So we're going over basic Spanish phrases about the differences between the plurals and differences of te amo and me gusta. During our practices we announce people we love and things we enjoy, and my classmate proudly announces that she loves horses. To which my professor quickly corrected her that she doesn't in fact love horses romantically, but she enjoys them a lot. My classmate got kind of offended because she thought the teacher was calling her stupid and she said, "No, but I really love horses." She basically was saying she fricked horses and defended it when corrected. Fast forward 8 years and she seems to be doing pretty well for herself. Sorry we made fun of you for calling yourself a horse sucker, Miranda. My Spanish is rusty. While I was in college we had a girl in our class who was a little dim. One of my favorites from her was how our baby nuns made. Whole class falls silent and the teacher asks her what she is on about for the girl to then proceed with, "Well, you know how nuns can't frick." So I was curious how baby nuns were made. We were in a travel and tourism class talking about holiday reps at the time, so no idea how her mind wandered off that badly. Not a teacher, but my wife was one, and while we were dating I helped her grade papers. She passed out a quiz of sorts in class. It was a bonus extra credit quiz to help many of the failing students and the class average as a whole to bring up some failing grades. One quiz I remember was blank, covered with chocolate and pink. I remember asking what the deal with this kid was and she said that he would frequently just nap during the class. The chocolate and pink stuff was probably from him drooling onto the paper and was probably from a combo of chocolate milk, candy, and some red drink. I'm probably this kid. I was a weird, awkward, antisocial kid. I used to play with my hair to make dandruff fall out and collect it in little piles on my desk. Shudders. Thank God I became a pretty normal adjusted adult with a great wife and a wonderful, well-paying job instead of a serial killer. Haha, I used to do that. Unfortunately resulted in greasy fingers which made using the pencil pretty hard. Last year in my sophomore world history class, it was 9/11 and my teacher was giving respect to all the people that had died and whatnot. She literally had a slide on the smartboard and she was explaining what exactly happened, and then one of the students, dumb preppy cheerleader type, piped up and said, "Wait, wasn't that, like, an earthquake?" I swear the teacher almost had a second stroke. In my first grade class I asked my students what they wanted to be when they grow up. One boy put his hand up and said a cat burglar, because I'm good at climbing things and I like cats. I had a fellow classmate once interrupt class when our teacher mentioned someone was from Canada. Wait, people live in Canada? The class was completely silent while we stared in shock. When we all started laughing and asking how the heck she didn't know, she said, "I thought it was just moose and stuff up there." I once had a boy in my first year class, aged 11/12, submit this as part of his German homework. Mein Mutter went to Universität. No CIST, a businesswoman. Mein Schwester hasn't been to Universität yet. Sie goes to primary school. Not a teacher, but I had a class in college with a guy who could not process anything that the professor just said to him. A typical conversation sounded like this. Chiang Kai-shek was the leader of the Chinese nationalists and led the Exile government on Taiwan. Who was the leader of the Chinese nationalists? Chiang Kai-shek. Okay, so he was Korean? No, he was Chinese. Okay, so he was a communist? No, he was a nationalist. But he was the leader of Japan. No, he was the leader of Republic of China on Taiwan. Okay, what was his name again? I teach English in Mexico. A student once asked how to say jacket in past tense. After 5 seconds of silence I said no and continued. You misunderstood him. Jacket, as into jacket, dong, equals jacked it, as in I jacked it 3 times yesterday. I'm not a teacher, but the only girl from my class in high school that didn't graduate dated Jaden Smith and I just saw her on a Snapchat story out at lunch with fricking Leonardo DiCaprio. Love to see people I know succeed, but that girl was a B. A fellow teacher on the staff told me he was giving up on a student who he claimed had a serious bad attitude problem. I took this student in under my wing and discovered, just as I suspected, that it wasn't the student with a bad attitude problem but the teacher. With some positive support and appropriate guidance, this student became an achiever and well liked by both peers and faculty, except for that one teacher who preferred to berate rather than encourage and inspire. I'm teaching game design and did a whole lecture about the importance of proper diagrams to communicate an idea. Told them they had to do one from scratch, related to their project. That student did it on Paint and write the legend with the spray tool, the larger one. He is 19 and he didn't figure out why I looked at him with a seriously, dude face. Had a girl in my class who was talking over the teacher and he was getting annoyed by it, so he says, "Silence, you insolent swine." He was a funny guy and everybody knew he was joking around. Her response to that was, "Oh, I know what that means. My uncle is a diabetic." Not a teacher, but a classmate decided that on a cultural appreciation day he would draw 2 kind of xenophobic looking Asian cartoon people on a paper plate with the phrase "two ones don't make a white." This would have been kinda funny if he didn't show it directly to the Ray ethics teacher. We were in year 9. I ain't a teacher, but I have a pretty good memory from when I was in kindergarten. A woman was walking around the class asking all of the students what we wanted to be when we grew up. When she got to me, I responded by saying I'm not going to grow up because I'm going to stop celebrating my birthday. She simply nodded and said okay and moved on. I'm not a teacher, but I'll always remember the very first day of my English 101 class in college. Our teacher was going over the syllabus and possible topics for our persuasive essays. He called on this one dude randomly and asked what his thoughts were on euthanasia. It was absolutely hilarious hearing this guy stumble over and discuss youth culture in Asia for a good minute before the teacher corrected him. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.